Hey, what's going on, everyone? Tyler James here from CelticsSocial.com. Our first video on this YouTube channel, first of many. It'll be my mock draft 1.0. Celtics right now, if the season ended, would have the number one pick, or the best chance of the number one pick, I should say. The Brooklyn Nets are the worst team in the league, and it looks like that's not going to change anytime soon. Jeremy Lin just got injured. He's going to be out a few weeks. So things should only get worse for the Nets, which is better for the Celtics. But we're not just going to cover the Celtics picks in this mock draft. We're going to cover the lottery, 1 through 14. As far as the draft order, I used tankathon.com, hit the randomize button, and it gave me this draft order. So it's a little different than what you might see in most mock drafts because it doesn't exactly go by the standings as they are right now. But, you know, it is an official lottery site, tankathon.com. Check it out. And that's how we got the order. So here we go. With the first pick in the draft, I have the Celtics selecting Markelle Fultz. Anyone who follows college basketball or checks on mock drafts knows Fultz is the consensus number one pick. Even though the Celtics are guard heavy, I can see him playing alongside of Isaiah Thomas. Both of them went to Washington, by the way. As Fultz can play on the ball or off the ball. He can drive it, shoot it from outside. He's just a really smooth player. I believe in his last 3 or 4 games, he's averaging well over 30 points per game, around 5 or 6 assists and rebounds a game. The kid can do it all. I see him fitting in perfectly with the Celtics, who would be glad to have a generational type talent in Markelle Fultz come their way. With the second pick, I have the 76ers getting Lonzo Ball, and they will be happy to take him. He's a 6'6" point guard who has excellent court vision, think Jason Kidd type player, but best of all, he has an excellent outside shot as well. His limitless range really does allow him to shoot from anywhere on the court, and in today's NBA, that's extremely valuable. He could fight Fultz for the number one spot, but I see him going right after, and any team that gets him will have a floor general that can also put the ball in the hoop. With the third pick in the draft, I had the Los Angeles Lakers selecting Josh Jackson out of Kansas. Many are high on Jackson. Some have him as high as number 1 on their big boards. Me, not so much, mainly because of his shot. He has a very weak outside shot, and if you can't develop that, I'm not sure how effective he'll be on the offensive end. However, his defense and playmaking will land him pretty high in this draft, and I see him as a good fit for the Lakers just because he brings those intangibles that they really don't have on that roster yet, so it's a nice fit. With the fourth pick in the draft, I have the Miami Heat selecting Dennis Smith Jr. out of North Carolina State from Fayetteville, much like myself, so shout out to Dennis Smith. He really could end up being one of the best players in this draft. He is freakishly athletic, can score, play defense, distribute, shoot, you name it, he can do it, and I think he'd be a perfect fit in Miami alongside some of the young talent they already have. With the fifth pick in the draft, I have the Dallas Mavericks selecting Malik Monk out of Kentucky. I went back and forth on this pick a little bit. The Mavericks do have a very good international scouting team, so I thought maybe they'd go after Frank Ntilikina, the point guard, but I had them going for the pure scorer, Malik Monk, and he is probably one of the best shooters in this draft. If you saw his performance against North Carolina, you know how good he can score, so he's a little undersized, but I think the Mavericks will welcome that scoring threat off the bench, and hopefully he'll develop into a decent shooting guard. With the sixth pick in the draft, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves selecting Harry Giles out of Duke. Probably my first real reach in this mock draft. Giles was considered one of the top prospects of all time coming out of high school. That's how good he was. Injuries have weighed him down. He hasn't seen many minutes in Duke yet. However, if he can stay healthy and get back to that level of play where he was when he was coming out of high school, I really do think this is a great pick for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And he'd fit in nicely with that young core. With the seventh pick in the draft, I had the Phoenix Suns selecting Jason Tatum, aka J Smooth, a nickname I'm giving him because he is silky smooth on the offensive end of the ball. Not extremely athletic, but think Paul Pierce type of scorer. Does it with his moves, and you know what? He actually has been playing excellent D this year for Duke. So both ends of the ball, probably the best scorer on the wing in this draft. And if I had to pick, he'd be my number 3 on my big board because he's that good. I think he'd maybe end up being the 3rd best player in this draft potentially, and the Phoenix Suns would be ecstatic if they could add him to that roster. With the 8th pick in the draft, I had the Denver Nuggets selecting Jonathan Isaac out of Florida State. Isaac might not even be the best player on his team this year, as Dwayne Bacon's taken over that primary scoring role, but his upside's too much to pass up for the Denver Nuggets. He's a Brandon Ingram type player, tall, lanky, can play the 3 or the 4, can shoot the ball, and I think on raw potential alone, he's a great selection here for Denver. With the 9th pick in the draft, I have the Pelicans selecting De'Aaron Fox out of Kentucky. Maybe it's the Kentucky thing, but I see a lot of Rajon Rondo in De'Aaron Fox's game. Athletic, fast, can get to the basket, great floor general, excellent passer, but just doesn't have that jump shot, something he'll need to work on. However, I don't see it scaring away many GMs. He'll drop a little bit because of that shot, but he's a prototypical point guard who could help a lot of teams, including Anthony Davis and the New Orleans Pelicans. With the 10th pick in the draft, I have the Orlando Magic selecting Frank Ntilikina. International prospects are never easy to predict as far as where they're going to go in the draft. Some people have Frank Ntilikina going as high as top 5. He has very good size for a point guard, quick, athletic, and I see him as a good fit for Orlando. I think they've cooled on Alfred Payton, so they'd have no problem bringing in a new future point guard to run the team. At number 11, I have the Chicago Bulls selecting Lauri Markkanen out of Arizona. I think the Bulls would be ecstatic if they could land this guy at number 11. Everyone's looking for the next Porzingis. Last year it was Dragon Bender who got compared to him. This year it's Lauri Markkanen. He's your prototypical stretch big man in today's NBA. Not a great rim protector. Could definitely improve his shot blocking, but considering how well he can stretch the floor, I think he's a great pick, especially this low in the draft. With the number 12 pick, I have the New York Knicks selecting OG Anunoby from Indiana. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. OG actually recently did get injured. He's out for the season, which will really hurt his draft stock. But as of today, I have him at the number 12 spot for the Knicks, just because I think he brings some toughness to that roster, a roster that could really use it. So especially if they trade Carmelo Anthony, they could get their small forward replacement of the future in Anunoby. At number 13, I have the Detroit Pistons selecting Miles Bridges out of Michigan State. Hometown kid, staying in Detroit. He's a little bit of a tweener, listed as a small forward, can play the power forward position as well. Very strong, explosive. You'll probably see his dunks on SportsCenter quite a bit. And I think it's a very good value pick for Detroit at 13. With the 14th and final pick in this mock draft, I have the Portland Trailblazers selecting Avon Rabb. This was a tough pick. I went back and forth quite a bit. I can see guys like Robert Williams, TJ Lee, Bam Adebayo going on this pick, but I do like Avon Rabb. He should probably came out last year, but he stayed an extra year at Cal, and I can see him being one of the better prototypical big men in this draft. Doesn't really have an outside shot, which is will hurt him in today's NBA, but if a team needs a good rebounder, an inside scorer, he's your guy. And that'll do it. Mock Draft 1.0, Celtics Social. I'm Tyler James. Thanks for tuning in. Now that we've released our first videos, we'll definitely have more. I plan to do some individual prospect videos where I break down each prospect and how they might fit in for the Celtics. So please do us a favor and like the video. Also subscribe. And check out CelticsSocial.com. Before I let you guys go, one more thing. Please leave some comments in the comments section with what you think of the mock draft. Maybe some players you think should go higher or lower. Just any opinions you might have. I'd love to hear back from you guys, and I'll definitely reply to as many as I can. Also, this is my first video teaching myself video editing, so they should only get better from here. But yeah, leave a comment in the comments section. Let us know how you feel about the mock draft and what players you think will be good. And until next time, go Celtics.